The path is long, the map is worn, a little cluttered since you were born. The middle chapters feel unclear. Don't worry, friend, no need to fear. Oh!
Everybody has dreams for the future. But here's the thing. Fear and comfort, these are the quiet killers that just keep us from making our dreams a reality. My guest today is Bradley Charbonneau. He spent 9 years dreaming his dream until one day on November 1st, 2012, he finally started taking tiny daily actions to make his dream a reality. Since that day, he's authored 39 books, hosts multiple podcasts, runs a YouTube channel. He's a public speaker, and he's truly living his dream. Bradley, welcome to the show.
Having me, Todd. It's great to be here.
Good to have you. Now, before we get into your story, can you talk about your life today? We want to hear the end result, where you are today, and just give us a breakdown of your mission in life, some of the books you've written, and the podcasts that you host.
Today, the tagline of the brand kind of sums it up quite well. It's, who will you be next?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not who's your ideal life, who will you be someday? What's the greatest idea or dream of all time that you've ever imagined that's going to be the greatest thing ever in existence? Nope. It's just, who will you be next? What's the next version of you? Because I don't want to get into big, giant, humongous goals that we'll never achieve. Just the next one. And let's go for that. So short-term successes, tiny wins to build the success and then build the confidence to keep going, and then make real change through tiny actions, ideally daily.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my tendency is to boil the ocean. I create this big mountain of, I want to accomplish this, and it's Mount Everest. And then it's like, okay, well, how do you do that? So
Boil the ocean. I've never heard that one. I like that.
Yeah.
Very visual. And sounds very difficult. Boil the ocean.
Well, the first thing you got to do is just start getting in shape. So, start walking.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Just walk around the block. You're training for the marathon. And then if the marathon's on Saturday and today's Tuesday, I shouldn't be signing up for the marathon on Saturday, for one thing.
Right.
And then how about I walk around the block? I'm going to date myself here. I wrote an article called for Writer's Digest, which I'm pretty sure it's still around, but it used to be sort of the end all be all in the writer's world. Yeah. And I wrote an article that they accepted for their magazine, and it was called Just Put On the Shoes. And it was sort of about jogging, but how I hated jogging, even though I jog, but how I hated jogging. Mm-hmm. But the most important element of my training regimen was putting on the shoes. Mm-hmm. Because it was the first in a step of habits, first in a tiny step of actions, a collection of actions that got me to actually jogging, which was the goal. Mm-hmm. But I just need to put on the shoes. And I made the sort of connection with writing and how I just pick up the pen or just turn on a blank screen or just get started. Right. And that's really helped me.
Yeah. Everyone can relate to, it's hard to get to the gym, but once you're there.
Yeah, exactly.
Just put your workout clothes on. Get moving.
Yeah.
Now, here's a random question. Are you related to Sacagawea?
Yeah. Yes, I am. Some of my family members are big into family trees and ancestry, and it goes way back, and it goes all the way back to Toussaint Charbonneau, Toussaint, Charbonneau, who was, is it married? I think they're married, some relationship with Sacagawea. And then they had a baby, Jean-Baptiste. And then it just, from there, of course, there's lots of, so long ago, there's lots of relatives. But yes, it goes way back. And so there's also, my name is spelled with two N's. Mm-hmm. There's some version with one N, and I'm two, and so were they. And so that goes way back. That was, it's pretty cool.
And Sacagawea, so she was kind of an escort guide to, was it Lewis and Clark? Is that it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
So as they were adventuring across the continent in North America, Sacagawea, sorry. But so what was her role then? So she was there to guide them across and help them? What did she do?
And I think also a translator, as far as I know, and sort of a help, sort of a middle person between
Mhm.
Indian and or Native American, or I don't even know what you say today,
Yeah.
and the locals and the new guys.
Yeah.
And she was sort of an intermediary, also with language and culture,
Right.
to help connect. So, which I
Very
kind of
cool.
think is cool today,
Yeah.
and then also the whole travel
Yeah.
element too, and adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, from what I've read of your work and the communities that you run, you're kind of a guide for writers and whatnot.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah,
Now, would
yeah.
you view yourself as that, as helping others like that?
Absolutely. In fact, I have, a hero's journey, right? And there's a guy I admire. His name is Donald Miller, and he
Mm.
wrote a book called Story Brand. It has an entire
Mm.
business and courses and programs and everything called Story Brand. And he boiled down the bigger hero's journey. I think it's like 12 steps or a whole bunch of steps that I frankly found sort of too complicated and I couldn't figure it out. But Donald Miller has his Story Brand where he took
Mm.
sort of 7 of the steps. And so here's why I'm a guide. So there's a hero, there's 7 steps. There's a
Mm.
hero who has a problem, who meets a guide, who has a plan to call to action, to avoid failure and achieve success.
Wow.
And the key there is that this is really hard for most people to grasp. I'm not the hero of the story.
Mm.
I'm the guide. Just like Luke Skywalker. So Luke Skywalker's the hero. Who's the guide? No, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Mm-hmm.
So in my role as teacher, as speaker, as author, I want to be the guide and I want to make the listener or the reader or the client the hero. I
That's
have a
cool.
plan to help you get there and avoid success and achieve avoid failure and achieve success, blah, blah, blah. But that's the role of guide that I have found that I have come into. And don't get me wrong, I've been a hero and I want to be a hero and everybody
Mm.
wants to be the hero. I
Mm-hmm.
think the guide is sort of the next level up.
Right.
Because what a hero is for yourself. I'm a hero. Yay, I succeeded. Yay, me. That's awesome. Fantastic. But I found that the true joy and meaning and purpose is in guiding others to
Mm.
become heroes.
Right. In
Yeah.
in reality, heroes, they do it out of love. So it's for other people that they're acting like
Yeah.
a hero.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Because
that's so cool.
the further back than a hero is the villain. And I don't mean villain in the sense of, the Joker and Batman, but the villain of our own selves.
Mm-hmm.
Like today, I'm sure we're going to talk about it. Procrastination, imposter
Mm.
syndrome, perfectionism. So I see those as the villains
Mm-hmm.
that hold us back from becoming heroes, much less guides.
Right.
But these villains within our own selves are what hold us back from moving on, which we'll
Right.
sure we'll
Yeah,
talk about because there's a lot of villains.
you just named off my villains. Imposter syndrome.
I know. They're brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfectionism, all that. Yeah. That's
I
good.
know. Yeah. Yeah. And they're not big and scary, right? They don't have masks and big fangy teeth and stuff. They're like your friends, procrastination. I mean, tomorrow, why put off something to tomorrow that you could put off until the day after tomorrow?
Right. That sounds so familiar.
I know. So
Yeah.
easy.
Well, let's get into
It's
your
that.
life. You had a wake up call. Prior to 2012,
Yeah.
your life looked successful from the outside and
Yeah.
you just weren't happy though. Who were you
Yeah.
back then?
I just said the magic scary word, imposter.
Mm.
And so to the outside world, yeah, I was a success. Living in San Francisco, had a house, my European wife, and we went to Europe every summer. And on the outside, things look great. Keeping up with the Joneses, and I had my own company, and life is great, right?
Mm.
But I was secretly, I call it the creative closet or the writer's closet.
Mm.
And I came out of that closet. I came out of that author's closet.
Mm.
And because I was scared. I was scared to admit it to the world, what I really wanted to do. Because, and this is where for many, many years, I think like 8 years or 9 years, I was just pretending to be a writer or talking about being a writer. Or I have this terrible graphic of a calendar, and there's a post-it on a date that says someday.
Mm.
And it's like a fake calendar because someday doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And someday was when I had the plan to become a writer.
Mm.
But of course, someday is pretty much the same as never.
Mm.
So I was saying, I'm going to be a writer, never.
Mm.
And that, but the beauty of that, if not taking action, is safety and security. Because if I don't say that I want to do this thing where I can potentially fail, then there's no danger. I don't put anything out on the line, then I am safe where I am, and I cannot fail because I'm not putting out anything on the line that I care about. It's easy to put stuff out on the line that you don't care about.
Mm-hmm.
But I cared. It was like my lifelong, not lifelong, but since I was 20, dream to become a writer.
Mm.
And I was so scared of admitting that and coming out of the closet or being public about it, because then if I went for it and I failed, then I would be seen as a failure.
Mm.
And so I thought, you know what? I'm just going to play it safe and not disclose it, not go public. And just let me keep it as my little dream, and I'll hold on to it. But the dream, just like I hate to say this word, but like a cancer, growing in me that was just like metastasizing, but metastasizing into something bigger to the point where I'm not going to be well at some point because I've got this dream living in me, which is a bad thing. Like cancer's bad.
Mm.
But it's almost, if I go public with it, somehow it turns into good energy or a good metastasizing thing. And then I can go for it. But that flip was too scary. So I couldn't do it. I didn't do it.
I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the date, November 1st, 2012.
Yeah.
As the day you finally said, look, I've got to make a change. What happened?
Yeah.
What happened on that day?
So that date changed a lot for me. And I wish I could say that I'm such a strong guy and I have such will and determination and strength and power that I managed to, on my own, decide that I'm going to become a writer now.
Mm.
And this is one reason I'm a guide today. I say guide like it's a tour guide, but like I'm a guide today because I know how hard it is to make that decision on your own. And if I only look back to myself on October 31st, 2012, for example, when I wasn't making that decision, still after years of pain and suffering, internal secret pain and suffering of having this dream and knowing it would probably never come true.
Mm.
And still not taking action. I know how bad it is. I know how scary it is. You know what? I'm still not going to make the decision. So I had to wait for I call it an invitation from a third party, from somebody else, to ask me, also known as kick my butt, to do the thing, to take action.
Mm.
And this is crucial for me. And this is another reason that I like to be a guide. And I like to call it an invitation. And I like that word, like invite as well. If I ask you to do something, hey, Todd, can you do this thing for me? So I just put the burden sort of in your court. I say, hey, can you do this thing? Whereas if I invite you, just like now, you invited me onto your podcast. So for me, it's an honor. Wow, I'm invited to his thing. He's inviting me into his world. Wow, that's an honor. I would love to, Todd. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I better clean the place up. So
right. But it's such a different even just those little words, right? Like ask or tell or do, and whereas invitation or invite, I just think it's a real powerful thing. So I was invited
Yeah.
by John Muldoon
Okay.
he had a project called, he calls it an experiment. That's why I got so big on the word experiment. And he had the monthly experiment. And he had studied habits and habit creation and habit stacking.
Mhm.
And habit stacking is super powerful. And what can happen in the span of just a month, 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
And he had stuff like, don't drink coffee for 30 days or wake up at 5 a.m. for 30 days or whatever. And he had these groups go through and they would do these different things. And, and of course, because he was the leader of this thing, he knew after 15, 20 days, there'd be usually kind of some breakthrough. And the coffee or the wake up early or the whatever. And so for me, it's like Bradley in November 2012. This is now, wow, 14 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, for November, I'm going to do a custom one for you. Because, by the way, he found out about my secret. Because we were friends and we were colleagues.
Yeah.
And he found out that I was secretly wanting to be a writer. He's like, dude, we've known each other for years. We worked side by side for years. How can you have never told me this? He was really annoyed. And he said, well, what kind of friend am I if you don't even tell me this stuff?
Yeah, I thought we were friends. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I'm not telling him. Not deepest, darkest secrets, but kind of. It was a big secret for me, and I hadn't told him, and he was annoyed. He was like, "We're going to fix this." He's like, "I don't. You got to come out of the closet, dude."
Yeah.
And so that's when he said, "All right, November's going to be for you. It's going to be right every day." He had the group go through it, and I was just one of the group, and I did it. And for the first time in years, I was actually taking action and writing. And he was so brilliant. He didn't have any rules, no quality rules or quantity rules. He's like, I don't care. It's just your definition of writing every day. I don't care what you do or how you do it. And me, I'm like formerly techie dude. And so a long time ago, right? But even WordPress, I knew WordPress really well. So I'm just going to make a post on WordPress and I'm going to make it public, which was super scary for me. Remember, I was like the previous day I was in the closet. Nobody knew about it. And then I'm going, not only am I going to write every day, he's like, you can just write in your journal or write on a blog post. You don't have to make it public. He didn't say that. But for some, self-flagellation reason, I said, I'm going to make it public. And I did. So I went on for 30 days. And of course, as he knows, after 15, 20 days, I actually said, this isn't so hard.
Nice.
This isn't so bad.
Yeah.
What's all that fuss been about?
Yeah.
I just needed to write every day and write junk, write bad stuff. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Just like you said earlier, get in shape. Just get in shape. And so I was not in shape because I was talking about going to the gym.
Yeah.
Not quite the same. So that kicked me off. And then I tend to be a pit bull and hold on to stuff. And so I wrote for 30 days, then I wrote for 100 days, then I wrote for 365 days, and everyday publishing, public, right? And these are all still accessible. And then I just was unstoppable. And then I went for 1,000 days, almost 3 years. And then I finally stopped at 2,808 days in a row, never missing a day of hitting publish and writing something every single day. And I stopped on the day my mom passed away.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't tell me to or anything. I just felt, you know what? I think 2,808 days. That's good. I'm in shape.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
You got to take a break sometime. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. In that first 30 days, what changed about you? Because when you're initially starting something out, that's when you see the biggest changes, right? And so what happened in those 30 days?
I had it in my head that this whole fantasy of writing was this big, giant mountain. And I had just blown it up so big, nowhere near reality, right? Had nothing to do with reality. It was just this gigantic mountain. And I still have this vision in my head of I need to go to a lake in the fall, but it's warm outside enough where I can sit on the I do it. It's like one of those wraparound patio decks, and I can see the lake and the sun is setting, and I have my laptop and my lovely beverage of choice, and then and only then will I write. Well, it's fantasy land, right? I mean, I guess I could make that happen, but I was waiting for this like Disney version of Fantasyland so I could start this dream. And so I'm never going to start it if that's my version of it. And what really happened was I needed my friend to kick my butt on November 1st, 2012 and say, you just got to write every day. I don't care what you do. See ya. We'll talk in 30 days. Bye.
Boom. Just get after it.
Yeah, that's it.
I like that.
Simple, but not easy.
Yeah, I like what you said about, we build in our minds this perfect situation, no matter what it is. Let's say you're going to become a Navy SEAL or whatever. Yeah. And then you actually get into doing the thing and you're like, oh, these are just normal people. Because you have in your mind, you're going to meet your hero. You end up meeting that person and it's like, oh, they're just a normal person like me. Okay. It's kind of refreshing, I think. So, yeah.
Navy SEAL, it's not every single day jumping out of a helicopter on Mount Everest, right? It's just, that's not everyday life. Everyday life might be much less glamorous than that, much less, from the movie. Just like the writing is not on the wraparound deck in the cabin by the lake with the, no.
Yeah, when I was in boot camp in the Marines, basically they would bring in recruits that were further ahead in training than us to try to motivate us, and they would talk to us, and we had these mantras, and it was like, hey, you were basically just trying to live from every meal to the next. We just called it chow to chow, and that's what we kept encouraging ourselves with that. You know what? Just take the next step, make it to the next meal. That's what you're doing. It's not glamorous at all, and then you just get into the thing, and you find out, oh, just normal people like me. These aren't like giants, and
right. And so chow to chow, that's kind of cool. I because I could say now, because I've written a gazillion books. Right? How'd you write all those books? Like, okay, do you remember that part that I wrote for 2,808 days in a row? I'm in excellent shape, right? And guess what? All that content, it's just like a graph of it. Most of it's terrible. Some of it's good. Some of it's excellent, and a tiny little bit is amazing. But you can't only choose to do the amazing stuff.
Yep.
Right? The Navy SEAL I only want to do the helicopter jumping stuff.
Nope.
I don't want to write out the report later, and I don't want to do that. Well, sorry, it's sort of part of the job.
Yep.
It's just that daily activity, and that's the big secret. It's the boring secret.
Yeah, to get on that helicopter, there's a long hike that you got to make and stuff. Usually, that before you get to that point, and then, and then there's that 5 seconds of cool, but it's interesting.
Right. It's like this little blip. Yeah.
Now you also developed a daily habit of meditation. How did that start? And you've written about this. You've written about the power of meditation and how it helps you. Can you talk about that?
I think growing up, I was so stubborn and typical, male. I got this, I don't need a map. I don't need help. I'm going to figure it out on my own. Right. And similarly, I didn't, I don't want help. I'll figure it out. And it was going to take me 10 times longer. Until my dad died. And then, or actually when he was diagnosed with cancer, that's when it hit me. I'm like, whoa. No, this happens, to other people. I don't have, not my immediate family, not my dad, who I dearly loved. No, wait, that can't happen. And then he did pass away, and it just threw me. And I then, because this is now, it was 2015, so the 2012 was when I started writing daily. But it doesn't mean I'm publishing books or anything. I'm just doing my daily thing. And that was sort of my little world, but I still had my full-on company and I'm doing my normal life and everything. That was just sort of a little side tiny bit.
Right.
But then when my dad passed away, you take assessment. You're like, okay, am I happy in my current, work situation? Well, no. Am I happy where I'm living? Am I happy, with this? I'm like, no, either. And I just wasn't. And I thought, wait a minute. If my dad can die, and in my playbook, that was on the never calendar. When my parents are going to die, never, no, never.
Right.
Not later, not when they're super old. No, never. So that one, it really shook me. And I know I might seem so naive or like a little kid or something, but in some ways we are, right? And I thought, no, not my parents. They're never going to die. And then my dad did die. And it totally freaked me out because I think it showed me mortality. I thought, wait a minute. If he can die, I'm going to die someday. What? And I was so like innocent or naive or whatever you want to call it. Maybe just unrealistic. But then I thought, well, I'm not happy with this, and this. Well, who's going to do something about that?
Right.
And I said, oh, wait a minute. I know, me. And so within 1 year of my dad passing, we threw our lives in California out the window. We sold our car, took the kids out of school, and we moved to Europe.
Wow.
And it sounds super crazy, and well, it is super crazy, but my wife is Dutch. And so I wanted my kids to have half of their mom's upbringing and existence in Europe. And not just the American existence that they'd had, and they were 10 and 12 at the time. So I can highly recommend to not move your kids at 10 and 12. That was brutal.
Yeah.
Before 10 would have been better. So it was super hard, but I didn't care. And we're making a big change. And I promise your kids it's going to be for the better. And only today, 11 years after that move, can I honestly say it was absolutely worth it. A huge change. And it all came from my dad passing. It's because I know we started this question with what triggered all this and what started all this. And you were talking about meditation, which I have gone a complete rabbit hole. But with my dad passing, that's when I went off the spiritual deep end. And I needed to find a way. At first, I was looking to save my dad. Can I save him? Like medically. I went west, I went east, I went any way I could find. How can I save him? Cure this cancer, heal him from cancer. And so I went Western medicine, I went Eastern medicine, I went any spiritual, trying to find something that would help him. And my first goal was sort of medically, but as I kept digging and reading and listening and educating myself, I got more spiritual, looking for spiritual answers. And I was so thankful that I found a version of spirituality where I could connect with my dad. And I thought my dad was conservative, engineer, worked for a defense company, full on that rigid conservative type mathematician undergrad, which I was at some point too. And I was at that point, more the artist and the writer and the creative guy. But we really connected in his last few years.
Wow.
It sounds so crazy to say this, but through spirituality and there's that connection and getting less scared of death. And then I even have a relationship with him after his passing. And I thank meditation for that, for reaching these higher levels of consciousness through meditation to connect with him.
That's deep, man. I wasn't expecting that. That's really, I mean, because, while I'm reading about you, you talk about meditation as part of how you write and how you develop ideas and stuff like that. But that's, dude, that was deep. It goes so much deeper than just, what we get out of it. So I appreciate you sharing that. So
you had a guest on your show who did Vipassana.
Yes.
And the 10-day, that was a fantastic interview, by the way.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah.
And he did this 10-day silent meditation retreat by Vipassana. I did it too. It was, my dad was still alive. I remember it. My mom and dad dropped me off at some like remote mountain village or something like that in the hills of California, somewhere near Nevada. Again, because I was on this mission to find a connection with my dad, kind of spiritually. But even after he passed, how can we have a connection after that? And the more I read, the deeper I went. I'm like, wait a minute, I can have a connection with him even after he leaves his physical body.
Yeah.
And we do have a connection. And those 10 days, that silent meditation retreat, that was the toughest thing I've ever done.
Wow.
It was brutal. It was super hard, and I don't regret it for a moment.
That's cool.
It was really hard, but it really, the answers are within.
Yeah.
The answers are always within. I think that the guy on your interview, he said something like that. He said something like, we're seeking the answers outside, but the answers are outside coming in, but no, they're inside coming out. He had this nice line. You guys had a great connection in that interview.
Yeah, there's a book called Inside Out Revolution, and we look to, if I could just change the circumstances. I'm in a bad marriage. If I could just, if my wife would just change, then everything would be good.
Yes.
That's not, no, it never works like that. We need to change ourselves.
Exactly. See, that's sort of exactly like if only I could be at the lake with the cup of tea and the laptop and the sunset, and I got the view and the wraparound deck, then I'll be a writer.
No, never.
Never. No.
In reality, you didn't get much sleep the night before. You're tired. You're trying to sit down and write. I've got a deadline. And and then at some point in that process, you hit a moment of greatness internally and go, and then it starts flowing. So, but there's so much leading up to that. So yeah. Now, switching gears here, you've experienced tremendous personal transformation through your life. And that led to the development of a concept that you called Repossible. What does that mean?
So I have very visual memory, and I can remember myself talking with, again, John Muldoon, same guy who changed the trajectory of my life on November 1st, 2012. And soon thereafter, so he and I were business partners, and we were looking for a new domain. I can't remember why. And he found it. He found this name, repossible.com. And he's like, Bradley, it's available. I'm going to buy it right now. If you don't buy it right this second. It was like, it was $9, right? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, if you don't buy it, I'm going to buy it. I'm like, fine. So I bought it. And, it's kind of unbelievable that name, which sounds like such a big corporate, could be some giant behemoth company, right? Repossible, sort of as you said, right? I like how you said it. You said redefining what's possible. And I also think repeat possible, repeat possible. Or like RE : as regards to possible.
Yeah.
So it's just a fantastic name. And it goes along very much with sort of my philosophies and strategies of, making it possible again. And these repossible, making tiny, small steps, not shooting for the moon, or, shoot for the moon is fine, but to take that first step, just put on the shoes, right? Just put on the workout gear. Just pick up the pen and write some garbage. So that's where that came about, these tiny little steps to taking action. And then, again, thanks to John Muldoon, thanks to my dad, accepting an invitation to take action, and finding your guide. If you want to be the hero and you want to overcome your problem, overcome your challenge, accept an invitation from a third party. Don't have to do it alone. You don't have to just always go it alone. Even stubborn guys like me, no, I got it. I can do it. I'll be fine. No, well, you probably can. I spent 9 years proving I couldn't do it alone. I never did. So John Muldoon walks up and says, 30-day challenge starts, November 1st. Okay, let's go.
That's cool.
So, yeah. I
Yeah.
see it as a guide. It's wanting to, I see it as that higher aspiration of us, like us as villains. So we're talking about procrastination, imposter syndrome. We were the villains. We all are the villains. And let's strive to become a hero. Awesome. That's great. Hero is ego. Hero is me succeeding. That's great. Nothing wrong with that at all. Then I think that the higher power, the higher aspirational goal is to become a guide. Because I think there is nothing more powerful or rewarding than helping others.
Yeah.
And reaching out your hand and come on up and let me lift you out of that ditch and let me help you. Allow me to invite you to your future success.
Yeah. And that's the feeling I got when I was reading your book, Repossible. It felt like an invitation. You weren't on a pedestal talking down to anyone. You were just, hey, here's me. Invitation is the right word. I felt like I was being invited into this world. So that was, that was motivating. So
that's
I like
cool.
that.
Oh, good. I'm glad you felt that because that's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
Because the pushing stuff, I don't think that works. I can push it at you. I can throw it at you. I can give you all the best sales pitches or whatever. But just like you said, it has to come from within.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't feel like I was being sold anything. It was, it was interesting.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And the writing is very light and there was heart there. So and I felt like I was being invited in. So I really enjoyed reading that. But I'm looking forward to the series. So I read the first book in the Repossible series and I'm going to do the rest later. Now, you talk about meeting your future self. How does that help people take action today?
Well, so again, I've had this fascination with Europe. Like since I was 14, and my parents dragged us to Europe. I didn't want to go, and I want to hang out with my friends. Europe, what a waste of time. And parents dragged us over there, and I just it opened my eyes to, wow, this whole other world. You know, especially as Americans, America is such a big country. There's so much to offer. There's so much to see. There's such variety. Why ever leave? And so, and as a young boy, I'm like, wow, I want to be with my friends and waste all summer doing nothing. Right? My parents were like, too bad, we're going to Europe. And it opened my eyes into this whole other world on our planet here. And I was just amazed. And I just fell in love with Europe immediately. And then I went back when I was 18 with a buddy, and we did the whole typical, like gazillion countries in 30 days and traveled. But then I thought, how can I live here? How can I be not just a tourist and a roaming around on a train, being a guest or a tourist? How can I be here more? And so that's when I looked into school. And that's when I eventually ended up going to my junior year abroad in France. And after France, I got a job in Germany, and this is all like pre-internet research. It's like literally going to the library, looking at books. Like, how can I work in Germany? Clueless. And so all of that led me to, how can we change? How can we become different people? Again, I want to go with the smaller stuff because if we strive to make these gigantic changes, then it's going to seem too big. Yeah. And like now, I mean, I've had a wonderful career and successful this and that, and I've done a gazillion things. And if some 22-year-old compares themselves to me, like, oh, but you have all these books and you live in all these countries and all that. And I say, yeah, I know it's a lot, but also you've got many years to catch up, right? Right. And it's not a race. Yeah. And it's just help with that first step. Yeah. And so these days I met somebody on a train back to meeting your future self. I'm on a train, and here's the kind of totally dorky stuff I do. I was in between, I was working in France. I was a volunteer at this abbey, and I was making stained glass. I was helping at the church repair the broken stained glass. It was amazing. It was super cool. That's cool. Yeah. It was really neat. And then in the meantime, I was waiting for the next volunteer gig, and I'm in Germany with friends, and I went to Poland. I can't even remember why. And all I wanted to do, there was a town in the very north of Poland, and it's spelled Hel. It's at the tippity top.
Mm-hmm.
And I only wanted to go so that I could say that I've been to hell and back. I'm like such a dork. So
Delightfully dorky. I like that.
yes,
Man.
I am
That's
a dorkarama. And I love doing things like that. So I met, there was this guy on the train. It was like, must have been 80 years old. And at that point I was, 20 or something. And he just seemed like this wise old wizard.
Yeah.
And he said in so many words, like, imagine when you're 80, like me on the train. And what would you say to your 20-year-old self? And how can you make decisions on your 20-year-old self? Try a little bit to think of the future and look back.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit like when there's people on their deathbeds, they never say, oh, I didn't work hard enough. Right? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so for me, the 80-20 thing is a bit of a stretch. That's kind of hard. When you're 20, it's hard to think of, well, when I'm 80, I don't know, I'm going to be super old. But what if just a year out, just 1 year out, try to envision your life in a year, where you might be, what you might be doing, where you might be living, what's your job, what is your relationship, what is your world, and try to envision that, try to see that. And then from that perspective, from that viewpoint in the future of your own self, try to speak to your current self and give like advice or what might it look like to get to that point. And I've done this exercise with my kids, and they're usually like, well, I won the lottery and I bought a Lamborghini. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
Out of your control. Yeah. That's not how it works.
Yes. Tone it down a little. And a little closer to Earth.
Yeah.
But it helps to think, if you're mapping out or visualizing that future self of you, where are you walking? How do you feel? What are you doing? What makes you proud? What is something proud that you've done, that something you've done that you're proud of? And that ideally you're looking in the future and say, oh, you know what? And I'm very much into words and speaking and how we say things. Just like I like the word invite. But if you're in the future, and if you write this out, it can be very powerful. And if you write in the past tense, write it today, but it's in the past tense. So, 2026, what a year! Well, I finally achieved XYZ. And I also finally did ABC. And it helps to be specific. And we moved to XYZ.
Right.
And I finally got this one thing done I've been waiting to do, and I finally did it. And not the moon, not the Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Relatively accessible things that you really would be proud of having accomplished.
Right.
And talk them through and write it out and be specific.
And I heard it said, I can't remember where, but when we pray, when we visualize, when we meditate, we look to that future. What happens psychologically is our cognitive processes orient themselves towards those goals, and we can't help but think about them. So then that helps day to day for us to align our actions to those goals. I heard that said. That's not original with me, but what you're saying triggered that.
Yeah.
But meeting your future self. I love that.
Yeah. And like you said, pray, meditate, because ideally when you're praying or meditating, you're in a calmer state, and you're not, I'm also doing the dishes and taking out the trash and walking the dog. Although you could be ideally one of those things, I guess. I walk my dog a lot, and I can be definitely in a calm state because it's just so natural to walk my dog. That's when I'm in a very calm state, that I've got nothing else going on, just walking the dog. And that because meditation, people often think, oh, you got to sit cross-legged in the corner on a pillow and wear an orange robe and shave your head. It doesn't have to be that, right? It can
Right.
be as simple as walking the dog or in the shower or whatever, wherever you can sort of achieve
Yeah.
a tiny bit of a higher state
Yeah.
than your normal daily, busy life.
Yeah. We're always looking for fancy, but that's just not the case.
Yeah.
I give you this as an example. Marines are known for marksmanship.
Yeah.
And then you go to boot camp, and literally the whole rifle range training is a 2-week period in boot camp. The first week, you're sitting out in the grass, and they take these 55-gallon drums, paint them white, and they paint these little targets on them. Literally for a week, they call it snap-in week, and you're sitting there just aiming at this barrel, pulling the trigger, dry firing, click, and then you cock the weapon, click. So for a week, you're doing that. And then the shooting part is, kind of an afterthought after you've done that for a week. So there's nothing fancy about any of it. So
dry firing, you're not actually shooting a bullet that first week.
No, you just click. And then you'll have your buddy sit behind you. There's nothing highly technically advanced about it at all. Your buddy will sit behind you at some point and pull the rod back to cock the rifle, and then you just sit there and breathe, click. So yeah, nothing fancy. Yeah. Meditation.
Yeah.
Nothing fancy about it at all. So
yeah,
you can do it anywhere. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. You're going through the motion. You're not even doing what you think it's supposed to be about, but you're still doing it. You're in that. You're practicing, I guess, right? You're without actually the bullet coming out of the rifle.
Yeah, you're focusing on, and when you finally shoot, it should be like, oh, it kind of should shock you a little bit, and so that's how they train marksmen in the Marines.
There's a question about that. That's interesting because also, since no bullet comes out, you can't judge yourself whether or not it was a success, right? I guess.
Yeah. Well, you can feel it. If you're doing it right because you're not focusing on the shot. You're focusing on all the things leading up to it, and then you're meditating when you're doing this. There's an acronym called BRASS F that you're saying in your head while you breathe in. You relax, and then you're focused on the front sight post, and then you're slowly squeezing the trigger, and then bang, and then it kind of scares you, and you're like, oh yeah, I shot. So you're not focusing on the results. You're focusing on that process leading up to the firing pin striking the bullet. And
See,
you're
you
not
just
focused
said the
on
magic
bullet at all.
words. You just said the magic words. You said you're not focusing on the results.
Right.
And I think that's the key to that's been my secret.
Yeah.
And I think that's such an interesting story. I'm so visual, right? I can just see you there, rifle on the ground, buddy behind you, and you're pulling the trigger. And what you think is going to happen is not actually happening, but that's not even the point.
Yeah.
Because the point is going through the motions, is doing the thing.
Yes.
And that's similar to my writing every day. I didn't plan on writing all these books. That wasn't my goal. My goal is to sell 100,000 books, which I've done. But it wasn't that. My goal was write every day.
So, get up in the morning and write.
Yeah. The deadline part, I never forget. We were on holiday in Barcelona, and it was like 1:45. And I'm out with it's late life in Spain, right? And I'm out with my wife and 2 kids. And it's at the 11:45. I gotta go. I'm like, what are you talking about? We're out here. We're on the beach rather than night. So I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And I literally went back to our Airbnb and I cranked out some garbage, and it didn't matter. But what did matter for me was that deadline, and I was my own accountability partner. And my accountability partner was the calendar, was the daily. Remember, no quality control, no quantity control. I could type, today was okay, period, done, published. That didn't matter. That was okay. It was that daily habit that I was so strict about. And that ended up being my success. Just like you're there, rifle, no bullet, but I'm going to still pull the trigger and as if. Because then when the real time comes, when I'm actually writing a chapter for a book, I'm already in shape because I've already been practicing all that time.
Yeah, it's you don't have to think about it. So you get in that flow state. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I also like
Yeah.
chow to chow. I haven't forgotten about that chow to chow.
Yeah, that's
cool.
how we encouraged one another. It was like,
Yeah.
just got to live chow to chow, man.
Yeah.
So switching gears
Right.
now.
Yeah.
You describe your life as an experiment instead of a plan. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. I'm that. How often do I mention John Muldoon? It's his thing. It's his experiment. And
Mm,
the idea of an experiment, the reason he calls it an experiment is because in an experiment, there's not necessarily failure or success.
mm,
There's just like a report or results or here's what happened.
mhm,
And so it's like a learning experiment. And so,
mm,
what happened of with your 30 days of no coffee or your 30 days of writing every day? What happened? Tell me. And so you
mhm,
tell them the story. This is what happened. Oh, great. That was a great experiment. Thanks. That's it.
mm,
And so the idea of it not being about the result, just like the many things we've already been talking about, them.
yeah.
It's the going through the motion. It's the idea of doing the action without being so concerned about the result.
Mm,
And this is where I think the secret to I am a machine when it comes
mm,
to creating. I've written a gazillion books. I have over 5,000 videos on my YouTube channel, right?
nice.
A lot of shorts. Shorts are easy, but
Yeah.
I just crank it out. And
Yeah.
this is from a guy who spent 9 years not publishing a single thing because I was so worried about what the external world is going to think about it.
Mm,
But I finally got over that. I just opened up the dam. The dam broke, and maybe I'm catching up for lost time, but I just kept going. And
mm,
so that's where experiment, like you could say that every single chapter I write or blog post or video or audio I record is an
mm,
experiment. And what are then the takeaways or the learning moments from that
mhm.
experiment? Not
That's cool.
necessarily, was it a success or failure? Well, you can say that if you want, but
Yeah.
for me, get it out, see what happens,
Right.
and it's an experiment. So that's
Yeah.
then a word. Again, as you'll notice, I'm very specific on certain words like invitation and experiment because they have real power.
Yeah.
So
That is so cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Now,
It's been
here's
really
the
cool.
fascinating story that you shared in Repossible. You once read a children's book with your 8-year-old son. And after you closed the book, your son goes, "Hey, we could do better than that." What came out of that conversation?
That's so cool that you found that. So this is me early on wanting to be a writer, being a writer. And then back then, where do the ideas come from? Where does the creativity come from?
Mm-hmm.
And this was with my little boys,
Mm.
and we're reading the story. And that's where one of them said, like, yeah, we can do better than that. So I'm like, that sounds like a challenge if I've ever heard one.
Yeah.
And so then I helped them. I said, let's have you guys write the book. But they're kids, so they don't really understand that. So what I wanted them to sort of write it out. That turned out to be too complicated.
Yeah.
All I did was I said, you guys just tell me what happens next. And then I'll kind of write it out a little bit in words that make a story. But it's your story. I'm just sort of the translator. And then we'll make a story. So we did that for a while. And then I read back to them the story that they told me.
Mm.
And I knew that I was onto something when I still get the chills today. I'm reading the book, I'm reading the words to my boys one night. And then one of them says, and then what happened? And I say, did you forget? This is your story. You created this story.
Yeah.
You get to determine what happens next.
Yeah.
And they were just baffled. Like, wait a minute, we created this thing? What do you mean we created this thing? Like, you've been telling me the story. I've been just sort of typing it up. It's not my story. It's your story. You are the creator. You are the founder of this story. And it's yours. So you get to determine what happens next.
Right.
And eyes are there. the kids are just like, whoa. And like, we have the power,
Yes.
and they could create the story. And so then they're like, it's just amazing. It's like I gave them the tool of
Yeah.
imagination, and I let them create the story of what was going to happen next.
Yeah.
And it was just
That's
a
cool.
powerful thing. And all I did, what did I do? I invited them to
Yeah.
share their imagination with me.
Yeah.
So
That is so cool.
I didn't ask them. I didn't tell them to, hey, kid, tell me what happens to the dog next.
Yeah.
No. Now I might as well tell them to do their homework.
Yeah.
Right? Or eat their broccoli. Like, no. But I invited them
Yeah.
to share with me your imagination. What about dog's going to go into the cave? What's going to happen to the dog? What's going to happen to the dog? I don't know. Tell me.
Right.
So it was amazing. And then I told this story. This is a zillion years ago. I told this story to some dad at some kid party. And the dad is like, okay, dude, if you can get me to have that relationship with my son, I will pay you whatever you want. Right?
That's cool.
Like,
yeah.
yeah. And so that's when I started a program called Spark. I sparked the imagination of the kids.
Yeah.
And the parents then sort of write it out, depending on how old the kids were. The parents sort of write it out and like, no editing. It's just, you're just a translator. Just, they'll tell the story. You sort of type it out or whatever. And then you're going to tell them this is their story. It was so fun. It was really fun. Yeah. So the kids wrote a book together. It's called The Secret of Kite Hill. It's literally on Amazon today.
What's the name of the book again?
The Secret of Kite Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the boys wrote that book. I did. I typed the words, but they told the story.
That is so cool. The Secret of Kite Hill.
Yeah.
I'm
so
making a
glad I
note to
did
go
it.
look that up. Yeah.
Then, because the kids were young and, more innocent and willing to do silly stuff with their dad like that.
Yeah.
So there's a small window with kids when, they're, you're not annoying enough yet as a parent.
Right.
And you're still kind of semi-cool.
Yeah. And they want to hang with you. That's tight.
Yeah.
So last question, may not really be a question, but maybe a statement on my part. But one of the books in the Repossible series is called Spark, right?
Yeah.
And the subject matter of that book really touches my heart. And I want to read a quote from that. And in the book, you say, well, I don't know if it's in that book, but maybe I read it in Repossible. But here's a quote. You said, personal development is great and all, but when you can help someone else, you'll feel a bolt of lightning strike and a rumble of thunder will rattle your heart. End of quote. Man, the heart behind the life you're living is really coming out, sparking things in other people. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. I think that's the secret to, this is a big statement, but like to all happiness.
Yeah.
It's helping someone else or opening up something in somebody else it gives you such sort of joy and meaning and purpose. And I think there's nothing greater than that. And so when you're younger, you just think, oh, I want the Ferrari, or, I keep mentioning Ferraris or Lamborghinis, but I want to succeed. Like, hello, I want to succeed. Remember me? Hi, I want to succeed. I want to be the hero. I get it. I totally get it. It's absolutely normal and 100% human. And I wanted to be the hero too. I still want to be the hero in certain ways. But once you achieve hero status, you achieve success or whatever you want to call it, then you can have this sort of plateau where like, okay, I've succeeded in this and I've succeeded in that, or like, okay, that's all great. Well, I guess I'll succeed in some other thing. It plateaus because I find that our true heart is filled when we can help others succeed. Yes. That's for me the big secret. And so when me helping others, if you put like a number on it, like I can earn $100, but if I can help someone earn $1, it's even more valuable, right? So this is where like the mathematics don't make sense. Because you would think like, well, $100 sounds better than $1 to me.
Mm.
Yes, but they're not equal value. You know, like I don't know why I brought dollars into this, but the dollar of someone else, that person succeeding is worth more to me
Mm-hmm.
than had I earned the dollar.
Mm.
Even worth more to me than I earn $100. That
Mm.
person earning $1. And that's, if I can have any influence on them having any kind of success or happiness or joy or confidence is one of my favorites. If I can help that person, I actually think confidence is, we haven't talked about confidence a lot, but I think confidence is another sort of secret characteristic that if you could just get a little more,
Mm-hmm.
it can help you sort of exponentially.
Mm.
It's a little more confidence. And so I truly believe it with kids as well. Just like then, I gave the kids, my two boys, the confidence that they have imaginations and I'm writing their story and that they can create a book, you know, at age, whatever, 6. Wow, I can do that. I did that?
That's cool.
Yeah.
That is fascinating, man. Yeah. It's been an awesome conversation, Bradley. Thank you so much for taking time with me. What I'm going to do is put links to where you can find Bradley. So he's got several. He's got his YouTube channel. He's got his main website. He's got the Repossible site. I'm going to put links in the description there, and also links out to the Repossible series. He's also got a authorpreneur series. We didn't talk about that, but I'll include links to that series as well.
Yeah.
But man, this is good. And that invitation is what came out in your book. So for the listeners, I invite you to check out Bradley's website, check out some of his books, his YouTube channel, and we'll include those links. Bradley, thank you so much, man. I appreciate your time.
No, if I can say one more thing, I want to thank you because what you're doing here, you invited me into this conversation. And if you had asked me, hey, Bradley, go do an hour presentation on these topics, here's some questions. That's one thing.
That feels heavy.
Yeah, exactly. That's like, oh, I have to do what?
That's a burden.
Whereas you are providing, you are also providing an invitation here to have people open up and tell their stories. And what you're doing is also, you know, you're creating a legacy for yourself and for the people on your show. And I think it's fantastic and wonderful that you're doing it. And so I would like to really thank you for doing what you're doing.
Oh, man, that's humbling. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
But just my closing thoughts here. When you're thinking about your life and dreams and things you want to accomplish, if you're waiting for the right time, it's just not coming. There's nothing special about it. Before you read another book, before you listen to a podcast, watch a video, take a class, whatever, just pick one tiny thing you can do today and do it. Celebrate that victory because it will help you with the next step. And then just pick it up again and do it tomorrow. And then as you're succeeding, take some time to share that with others. Create that spark in other people because you can amass millions of dollars. You can become a billionaire. You can build the biggest companies and you can do all the things. But unless you're really inviting others along and trying to help them, you're not going to experience any fulfillment. That's what I'm taking away from this conversation with Bradley today. So just get off the sideline. Stop being a spectator in your own life. Check out the links in the description. Read the books, sure. But today, just get started. Do something. Make a plan to just do one little thing each day. I think the Japanese call it kaizen, one small improvement every day. Take time, make that happen. And I hope this has been encouraging for you. And if you enjoyed the episode, or even if you didn't, please leave us some feedback. We've got links in the description. You can send an email, you can send a text. And if you would, please consider leaving us a review. We read those and we appreciate your listening. Maybe share this interview with your friends. But until next time, we'll see you on the path.